Hello and welcome into SportsZone. I'm your host, Trey Francis, and we're going to start off talking about the 2023 World Series champion Texas Rangers going off spring training. And to do that here with me, I have Sydney Johnson and Sean Hunley. Sean, I just mentioned it. They're coming off this World Series. First of all, what were your quick thoughts on the last season?
I loved it, man. I mean, lifelong Ranger fan as long as I've been alive. I mean, this is probably the best season I've ever seen. You know, and at first when I thought, we're going to the postseason, I can't wait to face the Astros. And then it got to 5, then it got to 6, then it got to 7. I was like, oh, man. And then they won, and they moved on to the World Series, and they crushed the Diamondbacks. Great season, great finish for the Rangers. I'm so glad. I can't wait to see what these guys are going to do this season.
And Sydney?
Yeah, I think the Rangers made awesome history for the city. Of course, if this has never happened before, they made world history, so that's definitely something good. Their last season was great, and I hope that they can do it again this upcoming season.
But now, y'all, they are battling injuries. There are several players across the board, pitchers, hitters, doesn't matter. And that's kind of tough coming off, a big World Series win. And if you want to do that back-to-back, you got to have that healthy team. So, Sydney, I'm going to go to you first here. Are these injuries really going to plague this team to get where they want to go?
Yeah, of course, we have Corey Seager coming back from a hernia surgery. We have Matt Scherzer still recovering from his back surgery back in December, and I think a couple other injuries. The team has reported that they hope they can get most of these repaired so they can get these guys up and running for opening day. And if they're able to do that, then I think we'll be okay. We'll be in good shape. But it really depends on if those relief players can step up and take over the slack if these big names aren't able to come back in time.
And Sean, talk about these injuries.
I think they'll be fine. A big thing I was talking to my buddy earlier, and he said, if the Rangers can maintain a good, maybe above 500 level, maybe just below, until they get these guys back, maybe in the middle of the season, they'll be just fine. Because once these guys come back, they're just going to continue to grow and get better and better. And by the time they get to the postseason, they're going to be just fine. And
3 players on this Rangers team, they won Golden Gloves. That's going to be Jonah Heim, Nathaniel Lowe, and Mr. Garcia himself, Adolis, the all-star. He did it all for the team this past season. And do you guys think that maybe pick one, or do you guys think maybe a couple of these guys can do it again, Sydney?
I definitely would say Garcia is a super valuable player, and attitude is just as important as skill. Who you are off the field matters just as much as who you are on, and I feel like he has all the ingredients to potentially become a Hall of Famer for the Rangers, in my opinion.
And Sean?
I think they can definitely repeat it. I'm really hoping Garcia can do the exact same. I heard somebody say, "Oh no, we can't do it again." We'll see. I think all 3 of them can repeat it. There's gonna be a lot of competition, but that doesn't mean they can't win it again.
Well, then across the board, we're going to say Adolis Garcia will win it. We all had that same answer there. But now let's look more into this pitching. Obviously, pitching is important, and that was talked about the Rangers last season. Is the pitching going to kill them? How far is it going to take them? And it took them just exactly where they want to go. So, Sydney, how's this bullpen looking coming up? There's a couple new additions that we got, but what are your thoughts on the players that we have now and the ones that we added?
I'm not going to say that it's not looking good so far. We did lose key players like Ordolis Chapman and Chris Stratton, but as long as they're able to fill those remaining positions in the bullpen, I think strategically we should be okay. We just can't run our key pitchers into the ground.
And Sean, how's this bullpen looking, you think?
There's no way to beat around the bush here. They weren't fantastic, during the regular season, but they became fantastic when it mattered the most. So I think adding, veteran guys like Kirby Yates and David Robertson to that bullpen, just gonna, they got a setup man. That's what they need, but they definitely need a closer. But I think the bullpen's gonna be just fine.
Yeah, a couple big additions there, but now let's move on and talk about Jordan Money Montgomery. We saw him on the mound dominating last year with Nathan Eovaldi. But now he's a free agent. There's a couple teams out there talking about, we can get him back or we can sign him. But he's currently a free agent, not at Rangers spring training. So I'm going to ask you guys, Sean, I'm going to start with you. Will Jordan Montgomery be a Ranger come game 1?
I think so. There's a lot of talk about, what this Bally deal is going to do with the Rangers. And I'm not going to get into all of the details, but I think, as long as Jordan holds out, I think definitely they may get like a good 2 or 3 year deal in there. There's a lot of teams that are trying to compete and, and get him to their squad. But I think he's going to want to stay with the Rangers and hopefully go win another World Series. I hope.
And Sydney, your thoughts on Jordan Montgomery?
Sean, I'm going to have to disagree with you. I think Montgomery is a free agent, and he's going to stay that way because the Rangers just don't want to pay for him. It's as simple as that. There's no doubt that he will add value to the team, but with the guys that the Rangers already have, they don't think he's valuable enough for the price that he's asking for. So I'm going to say no, he's going to stay a free agent.
I'm going to go the opposite there. I'm going to hope that he does come back to the Rangers. There's not many teams out there that can afford him, and I think he wants a lot of money just based off of what he did and how he produced last season. So I think he's going to be back with the Rangers, but there were some teams talking to him, and those teams, the Red Sox, the Phillies, the Angels, the Giants, but nobody signed him yet, so I guess we will see. And the Rangers, they had a couple struggles last season. Pitching was one of them, but there were a couple more, so we're going to kind of emphasize on those. So, Sydney, I'm going to go right back to you. What kind of other problems did you see from this Rangers squad?
You know, I'm honestly going to say health is probably going to be their biggest obstacle this season. We got a lot of really good guys, but we also got some guys that are just kind of old, and they're not going to bounce back from those little knick-knack injuries as quickly as the younger guys are. So hopefully if they can keep everybody healthy and up and running through the season, then they're good to go. But I do think that health and injuries is going to be something that's going to plague them eventually.
Yeah, no doubt. In the first half of the season is going to be tough with those injuries. And, Sean, what are your thoughts on that one?
It's like I said earlier, if they can hold out, maintain that 500 area just to start the season, because it's a long season. There's no doubt about it that injuries are going to happen. It's a 162-game season. But, once those big guys come back, they're going to continue to cruise. I mean, they just won a World Series. They're only going to continue to go up. So I got no worries about the Rangers. They're going to be just fine.
And there was one team that nearly stopped the Rangers from winning that World Series, and that was the Houston Astros, who have stopped the Rangers several times now. And the Rangers went and beat them in Game 7 in Houston. Big game. So I'm taking Houston as the Rangers' big kind of opponent for this season. Sean, who are the teams you're thinking, the Rangers might have a problem with these guys?
Ooh, man, it's all in their division. They've got the Mariners, and they've got the Orioles that are not far behind them. They've got the Astros, of course. I'm going to say the biggest competition is going to be the Orioles just because they've got guys like Gunnar Henderson, and you've got Corbin Burns now to add in that pitching rotation. Their rookies are in their second year, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to be able to compete. The Astros are going to be there in their division, but I'm going to say the Orioles.
And that Orioles team, it's a young team. And Sydney, what do you think?
Honestly, I'm going to go Dodgers. They've got their 2 MVP candidates, Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, returning. They've got a good squad coming up this season, so I think they're going to be a big contender for the Rangers.
Now let's go ahead and get to the Rangers. Big question that everyone's asking. Can the Rangers go back-to-back? As a biased answer, I got to say yes. Why not? But Sydney, what do you think there? Yes? No? Maybe so?
Yeah, I have to agree with you, Trey. I'm a strong believer of once you get a good streak going, you can take it and run with it. So I'm going to stay optimistic and say that they can make another one happen.
And Sean, 2024 World Series chance, what are we thinking?
I'm very optimistic. I think they can get back there, but there is going to be a stiff amount of competition with the Braves, with the Orioles, with the Astros, with the Mariners. I mean, all these teams are going to be competing there. Now, I'm going to say the Braves are going to be their biggest competition for a World Series, but I'm going to say the Rangers can get back and win another one.
Yeah, Braves and Dodgers are definitely some tough teams. Whenever it talks about, teams that you're going up against later down the road, playoff time especially, a World Series, they're tough opponents. Shohei Ohtani, let's talk about him for just a minute. Now he's on the Dodgers, no longer on the Angels, and the Dodgers kind of stacked up their squad. Sean, are the Dodgers the real deal?
Until they win a World Series, again, they won in 2020, but until they kind of get past that little hump of choking in the playoffs, I'm going to say no, but that's just, me and my bias for the Rangers, but they'll be fine.
That's very valid. And Sydney?
Yeah, I disagree. I think that the Dodgers, like Trey said, really stacked up this season. They have a really good squad, a lot of really valuable players coming up, so I think they're going to be a really good contender this season, in my opinion.
And can Mr. Ohtani win MVP back-to-back? He hits, he pitches, he does it all. I think he can just because he's one of the few players that can do it all. Sean?
He does do it all, but I don't know if he's going to be pitching that much this year like he was, so I'm going to say no, not this year.
Yeah, that injury it might plague him up a little bit. Sydney, what do you think?
See, the only bad thing about doing it all is that it's not very sustainable. And with the strain of rehabbing Tommy John from surgery, I just don't know if it's going to be too much. I see Corey Seager as being a big contender for MVP for the 2024 season.
All right, I like it. Now let's talk about the World Series. Let me get y'all's quick predictions here for next season. It's really early. We're not even into spring games yet, but Sydney, right back to you. Give me your World Series prediction.
I'm going to go Rangers or Dodgers. Those are the two that are kind of on my radar for this season.
And Sean?
I've stuck with it all show. I'm going to say the Rangers are going to go against the Braves in the World Series.
All right, I'm going to say Rangers and the Dodgers, and that will do it here for us on this block, talking about the Rangers. They will play tomorrow night against the Royals. Dane Dunning on the mound starting for the Rangers, but when we come back, we'll be discussing the UNT softball team, so stay with us.
The do's and don'ts of the Pole Rec Center. See that man over there? Please do not hog weights. Instead, do this. Another important part is having an attentive spotter. See, here is an example of a non-attentive spotter. Instead, do this. Now we head to the track, which should be pretty easy, just it's important to pay attention to the way the track goes. Remember to wipe down the equipment after you're done using it. The towels are provided by the gym, so it's pretty easy to wipe down the equipment when you are done. Thank you for using the Pole Recreation Center.
Welcome back into Sports Zone, and now we're going to talk about the UNT women's softball team, and to do that with me here, Matthew Wagner and Taggart Kent. Taggart, it was kind of a rough slate here for the women. I mean, they've had some ups and downs, played a tough Missouri Tigers team. What were your thoughts on the last tournament that they had?
Yeah, I mean, they're just struggling recently, and it's not really a specific part of the game that they're struggling in. They're just in a slump period. I mean, you look in the Missouri game, you're putting up 2 runs in both of them. You're getting mercy ruled in the other one. And I know Missouri's a great team, 14th ranked in the country, but it's still, you can't come out flat like that and expect to win games.
Yeah, like you said, they went 1-3 in this Tracy Beard Classic. And Matt, what were your thoughts on that? Kind of one decent win, but the other losses, they were kind of hard losses.
Yeah, they were tough losses. You know, that's something that they need to kind of get. Again, it's kind of early in the season, so there is still a lot of time to kind of get back to that normal, that elite gameplay that they know how to play, right? One thing that's been really problematic for them, their errors. They have 11 errors so far. Those were all made during this tournament. That was really tough to watch, you know, as someone that's watched it, because I think if you can limit the errors, then that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, Taggart, now to you. What kind of struggles has this team had? They haven't scored many runs, but the pitching hasn't really been there either. What are your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, it really is a mixture of everything. You give up 7+ runs in 3 of the 4 games that you played this past weekend, and you've only scored more than 2 in 2 of them. It's hard to win games when neither of your personnel groups are playing well. Your pitchers aren't pitching well. And even in some of the errors, some of them are on the pitchers. In the second Missouri game, the first error was on the pitcher. That gives the Missouri Tigers 3 runs, and all of a sudden you're down 8-2 in the 3rd inning. You know, it's tough to get momentum going when everything is just not clicking.
Yeah, errors will kill you, but Matt, what are your thoughts on the struggles for this women's team?
No, definitely. For me, it's been the pitching, right? Skylar Savage, she needs to work on hitting the strike zone a little bit more. You know, only has 8 strikeouts this season, right? That's great. That's not great because the other ones, Mackenzie Childers, she has 17 strikeouts, right? So that discrepancy there, 15. She leads the team with 17 walks. I mean, you can't win a lot of games when you keep putting people on base.
Yeah, that's a lot of walks, and you kind of already mentioned it, but this pitching, I mean, the pitching is where the foundation starts. Mackenzie Wagner, she had that one good outing in that win, but kind of struggled in the game on Sunday. Taggart, what were your thoughts on the pitching?
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's similar in pretty much every other sport, but defense wins championships. And even in baseball, your defense and your pitching, it's super important. And so, you know, especially when your offense is struggling like they have recently, you're going to have to pitch in to pick up the slack, and they're not picking up the slack.
Yeah, Matt, did you have any other thoughts on pitching? Who kind of stood out to you, or who you thought needed to pick it up more?
No, like I said, Skylar Savage, she, you know, only the 8 strikeouts. Like the game I watched, she was missing the zone a lot. She kind of got in her own head, right? You saw the frustration from her, you know, and good on coach to pull her a little early there, you know, to kind of, you know, make sure she gets that mindset back. I think if you just, you know, calm down, get back into the way you know how to pitch, play your game, this team could easily be one of the best right now.
And it is tough for them because they are playing Division I programs, teams that have a lot more talent than them. Arizona's a team that has mercy ruled 8 of their 11 games so far this season. They're 11-0 in the year, so these aren't it's not like they're playing terrible teams. But still, you want to come out here and to perform well. And in the game against the second game against South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits, your pitching doesn't play well, and it doesn't translate.
And that will definitely not win you games. But we've talked about more the negative side. Now let's go to the positive side of things. What did you guys like from the Mean Green in these games, Matt?
No, I really like their hitting. We talked about their hitting not being kind of there. I actually like their hitting with, you know, only 4 hitters are actually above 230 right now. Katie Barra, she's hitting 300 right now, slugging 500. You know, she's been one of the little bright spots and otherwise kind of a dim start to the year. I think she's going to pick it up. She's going to be one of the better hitters on this team.
And Tiger, what did you like about this Mean Green softball team?
Yeah, one of the few bright spots is that they are beating teams that they're supposed to be beating. They're 3-1 against teams that are non-Power 5 schools. It's just about beating those teams that are more talented than you.
Yeah, and Mackenzie Childers, she struggled in the loss. Savage had relieved her and pitched 5 innings, did well. But before that, it was kind of a bit of a struggle. I mean, you got to have that depth when it comes to pitching. What are y'all thinking here going forward? I mean, you need that pitching to step up. What's it going to take for this team, Matt?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the depth has to come in. The rotation has got to be a little bit better. Mackenzie Childers, as we talked about, she's given up 17 earned runs. Like that, usually when you give up an earned run, that's, it's an earned run. That's what it says. So I think if she can kind of limit that, right, and get some more strikeouts. She's given up 2 home runs. She leads the team, or tied with the team in home runs given up. So I think they need to kind of work on that, work on the fundamentals.
Yeah, and Tiger, you mentioned it earlier about that Mizzou team. They were no joke, ranked, and they came to play. That was for sure. Was Mizzou that good? I mean, they were good, but were they that good to where they deserved to beat us that bad, or you thought maybe we kind of had a bad day?
It's funnily enough, in the first game, the team didn't play that well. They kind of kept it close. It was 2-1 for a while, and then there was a huge explosion in the 7th inning, and Missouri goes up 11-3. Missouri is a great team, and they're better than UNT, and I think it's less about how great Missouri is and how different the level is from a high-level D1 school, a Power 5 school, and someone like UNT who's mid-major.
Now we have the UNT invite coming up, so we're going to go ahead and kind of talk about that. What do the Mean Green need to do to bounce back? I mean, we said it, they struggled. They won 1 game, lost 3 in this past tournament. But coming up, UNT invite right here in our backyard at UNT. You think it's going to help us out? What do you think, Taggart?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's going to start by continuing to beat your mid-major programs. You got New Mexico State and Stephen F. Austin on the schedule here.
Tech.
But you want to build that momentum by beating a Texas Tech team, a team that's a Power 5 teams you've struggled against. Something to build momentum, get you a couple wins, and even if you split that series against Texas Tech, in my eyes, that's a win.
I agree. And Matt, what do you think we need to do?
No, I 100% agree with Taggart right now. One team that I think that is your major test is against the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers. Shout out North St. Paul for that one. But, they have a great team. They only lost 3-0 to number 3 ranked Stanford. This is a Minnesota team that if the UNT wants to show, hey, listen, we're here to fight, right? If they can keep this game close, I think, or even beat Minnesota, that shows that this team is ready to play, and that shows that they're taking that next step. Yeah, 3 games against Power 5 schools, even winning 1 in my eyes would be a W for the team and something to look forward to.
Let's talk about how the Mean Green have done at home. Last season, 14-6, 35-22 overall. This season, 1-3 at home so far, 3-5 overall. You guys think it's going to help a lot being at home, or just a little bit? What do you think, Matt? No, I agree. It's like you said, it's early in the season, right? So obviously, you're still getting used to the fans have to be back behind you, right? When you haven't been playing good, as long as the fans are there to support you, that can change your game plan and your mindset so quickly that this team, I think, their record at home is going to be so much better. All right, and Taggart?
Yeah, and I don't know how much being at home matters in softball or in baseball in that regard. I just think it matters about building that momentum. You're in a slump. It helps to be at home to get out of it. But we saw a team like the Rangers last year in the ALCS. We're in a slump for 30 games at home, and then they go on the road and they explode. I don't think it matters about where you play. It's just about getting out of the slump that they're in. Yeah, I think playing at home, I think it'll help them a little bit, not being out on the road for so long, having the tournament right here in their own backyard, kind of relax. And like you said, Matt, I mean, the fans, they got to come out and support and, just keep grinding away. It's a long season. Mm-hmm. I mean, talk about that. It's a long season. You can't fault right now and be like, oh, we're coached for the rest of the season. It's a long season. Yeah, I agree. It's one of those things where it's comparable to almost like ice hockey. It's comparable where, the grind is long. There's days we have back-to-back games. There's days we have, 3 games in one day. It's that mindset of just, hey, next one, yes, we lost that one. We lost 2 in a row. Let's get to the next one, right? Day in, day out, just keep battling. I think that's the model for this team. Just keep battling. And Tiger, who are you looking at for this upcoming tournament? Step up for this Mean Green team. Yeah, and it's Mackenzie. She's given up 17 earned runs, like you said. The pitching has to be better. And then if the hitting isn't going to get out of this slump, there's only one way to win games, and it's defense. Yeah. Yeah, I think Kaylee Christensen, the catcher, I mean, she's got to step up for the team. She's a leader on this team, and she can really help them out. Matt, did you have someone that stood out? Yeah. Or you want to stand out? Yeah, I got you. I got Skylar Savage again. I talked to her about her all right, with the not finding the zone. I think as long as she can rein in and get back to the fundamentals, this pitching can easily be one of the best in the American right now. I think that's the key deep part of this team, right? As long as if the pitching comes through, the hitting's going to come through. Now let's talk about this upcoming tournament, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, this upcoming weekend, right here at Lovelace. And what are y'all's predictions here? You think, they have these games. What are y'all's predictions? How many wins and losses do you think, Matt? I'm going to go, I know they've been struggling. I'm going to say they split. I think you're going to go 3-3.
Okay, and Taggart?
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. I think they take care of business against these non-Power 5 schools, and they still won against Minnesota or Texas Tech.
That's exactly what I had. Texas Tech, Minnesota, they're going to be tough real quick. If there's one that you think the Mean Green has a better chance of beating, who is it, Matt?
For me, it's Texas Tech, right? We've seen we've seen their struggles, especially in their hitting department. So I think if the pitching can come through, I think they can easily beat Texas Tech.
And Taggart, what's your team?
Yeah, it's definitely Tech. Not only are they less talented than the Minnesota Golden Gophers, excuse me, it's a mouthful. They also play 2 games against them.
All right, and that will do it. Like I said, they'll have the UNT invite this weekend, so make sure to go check them out at Lovelace. But in our next block, we're going to talk about the UNT men's basketball team, so don't go anywhere.
Did you know you have access to video equipment like DVDs, video games, and cameras? That's right, you do. Come on down to Chilton Library and fulfill your media dream. Located on the bottom floor next to the student sculpture. Hope to see you there soon.
Hey girl, you know you look good. I like the way you move and groove. I'm not your
Good evening, my name is Amanda Hasbell and I'm joining you here today in the Union Parking Garage. Today we're going to be going over how to drive safely in the parking garage. Let's go see. Oh my god, this girl just got hit by a car. Let's go see what happened. Man, are you okay?
Did you see that lady hit me with a car?
Yeah, we did. I got it all on video.
Oh my god.
Let's go over here and talk about how we can prevent that.
Yeah, not the hospital.
Well, right now we're going to ask you a couple questions on how we can drive safely in the parking lot. What are ways that we can be aware of our surroundings?
Oh, we can look both ways.
Jenna, also, how about putting the distractions away?
Yes, just like our phones, turning our music down, and also not focusing on our passengers.
Where can you get information on how to get a parking pass?
Transportation.unt.edu.
If you park in a garage, make sure you pay on the app or look for further instructions on how you should pay.
And remember, no pass, no park. Let's all try to keep our Mean Green community safe.
Remember, we're all in this together.
Drive safe.
Welcome back into Sports Zone. I'm your host, Trey Francis, and now we're going to talk about some UNT men's hoops. And to talk about that with me here is Anthony Council and Rohan Srinivasan. Rohan, I'm going to start with you. First we're going to talk about this Memphis game. It was a tough one, but UNT came out on top. What were your thoughts on that game?
I think it was a great game. We won by double digits at the end. Edwards went off, man. 30 points, 7 of 9 from deep. Really happy with the performance. As a team, went 57% from deep, so really happy with the performance.
And Anthony, what are your thoughts on that big game against the Memphis Tigers?
Yeah, it was great. We shot fantastic from 3. Shot 57% from the three-point line, and you got to give it to, like you said, I know it's not Anthony Edwards, but Jason Edwards was really balling out that game. And, he was the only one who really got to the free throw line. No one else in the entire game got to the charity stripe because he was really driving in and really trying to carry the entire team against Memphis.
Hey guys, we can say that he is putting the team on his back because he literally is. He is scoring like no other. He's leading the team to scoring every game, just about 30 points each. It's crazy. Talk about his impact for this team, Anthony.
He's one of the best when it comes to, balling out. He's had 2 games with 30 points. He put up 29 points against UAB, 18 against SMU. He's literally one of the best. He's ranked top 10 when it comes to scoring across the conference of the American. And, don't get me wrong, it's fantastic about his work ethic, but he just needs a little bit of help.
And Rohan, what do you think? How has his impact helped this team?
It's absolutely incredible. I just think that if he doesn't have a big night, we're in some trouble. But whenever he does, he really does impact the game with his three-point percentage. And we saw that in the next game. He shot 50% from deep, but his team wasn't there to help him. So he's going to have a bigger night for us to really get over the hump.
That's right, and one player can't do it all. Now let's talk about his teammates. Who do y'all think kind of stood out in this Memphis game along with Edwards? Anthony, I'm going to go with you.
You got to go with Bugs. Bugs he's one of the best when it comes to shooting from 3. I think that Bugs, whenever he's hot, he's hot. He's Bugs for a reason. And he has a very high percentage from the three-point line. And he's not afraid to sometimes to drive inside as well to get some easy shots. But also you got to give it to Ace Scott as well. There are times when he kind of struggles from the three-point line, but whenever he gets into the mid-range, he has a high percentage there. And I think that it's just about being more efficient on the inside. That can help Edwards just to be more efficient in the game.
Yeah, I got Bugs as well. He's definitely been helping him out when he's hot. This team is cooking because Edwards is already hot. And Rohan, who else do you like for this UNT team besides?
I completely agree with Anthony here. So as a team, though, we are shooting 57% from deep in that game. I think even for the Memphis team, it wasn't really one player that stood out. It was kind of a key contribution from all the players. So I really wouldn't pick one player out. Obviously, you got to go with Jason Edwards as the main guy.
And now let's talk about Memphis really quick. They lost obviously 76-66, but they kind of had a couple dogs on their team as well. Anthony, who did you like from the Tigers?
I mean, I really liked everybody. I just think that the biggest challenge for them was just they didn't show up. And I mean, we saw in the press conference, Penny Hardaway, he mentioned that, they just didn't come prepared and they just didn't come ready. I mean, Memphis has had an up and down season. They were ranked top 10 in the beginning of the preseason, and now it's kind of been this roller coaster ride. And I think just for them, it's going to have to be just being prepared because, I mean, he said it himself. It was, they didn't come prepared after Edwards knocked down like 3 threes in a row. So,
yeah, like you said, they had that confidence early on in the season, but they're definitely on the roller coaster ride. Rohan, what do you think? I mean, for Memphis, David Jones, 14 points. Jaquan Walton, 10 points. Who did you like for that squad?
For me, it really wasn't any. I mean, I guess Hardaway, after the interview said that we weren't really ready. But if you really take a look at the stats, it was all the players kind of making a key contribution. It wasn't like on UNT when Jason Edwards just dropped 30 points. One thing I did like as a team stat was that they were rebounding us on the offensive end more than UNT did.
Which was the most frustrating thing as a fan to watch. You see the ball go up and they're getting their own boards and putting it right back up. And that's killer for a lot of teams. I mean, this UNT team, they don't have a big paint presence, Anthony. I mean, it kind of kills them. Do you think that's going to keep impacting them throughout the season?
Yeah, I think it's going to be to not live and die by the three for UNT. I mean, they shot 22% from three against UAB, and I know we're not there yet, but I mean, shooting 57% against Memphis and then 22% against UAB is not gonna work for this squad. And I think it's gonna be, the coaching from Hodge to the execution by the players, and maybe it's just not there. I mean, they've had an up and down season, and I think that they're just gonna have to get back when it comes to a chemistry standpoint for them.
And Rohan, what did you think? I mean, what did this win mean for the Mean Green against a good Memphis team that we probably should not have beat?
Yeah, I honestly like it a lot. It was our 14th win on the season, beating a team with the winning record. I really like that. Coming into this game, if I told you that they were going to beat them by double digits, many people would have said no. So it's a great win.
I agree. They would definitely say that we are crazy if we think that. But now let's go ahead and move on from that game. And now we're going to go from good to ugly, where we talk about the UAB Blazers game. Anthony, it was ugly, like I said. What were your thoughts on that game?
It was rough. It was rough. Like I said before, 22% against UAB shooting from three is not what you want to see. I mean, when it was 7 minutes and 4 seconds, UAB outscored UNT, and I mean, UAB was on a roll from the second half on, and I get it. UNT tried to make a comeback, but it just wasn't it. And we played them already before, so you would have thought that we kind of know how they play.
Yeah, now they swept us on the season, now beating us twice. I mean, they beat us 71-62, not really super close, but UNT tried to come back late. And Rohan, what were your thoughts on this game against UAB?
I think one key takeaway would really be about the points in the paint. We did well in that. But again, it's about the offensive and defensive rebounds. We really got out-rebounded in this game again. Edwards played well again with 29 points. I really like Lendeboy from the other team, dropped 26. So,
yeah,
but we just didn't get the win against a winning team.
They dominated the paint, the Blazers did. But also, I mean, 29 points from Mr. Edwards, we expected something like that. But his teammates didn't step up and help him, Anthony. I mean, he had no one else to really help him. He did have Robert Allen score 13, but they were the only two really. So what did you think about that?
I mean, Robert Allen, he's a great player. I mean, he's one of the really bright spots that we've seen this whole entire season. I think it's just, I think aside from the players who are not showing up, I think it has a lot to do with the injuries. I mean, you're out C.J. Nolan, you're out Reuben Jones as well, and I mean, that's kind of been one of the biggest things for the squad. I mean, they've been battling injuries this whole entire year, and so I think hopefully if you're able to get them back later in the season, especially against UTSA down the line, I think it can really, really help them down the line.
So, Rohan, do you think that UNT, beat them, or I mean, do you think UAB beat UNT, or do you think UNT kind of just beat themselves?
I honestly think it was a combination of both. Whenever you're talking about even three-point percentage, again, I believe we went 4 of 18 from deep. So you're not going to win many games whenever you're going that much from deep. So it's a combination of both. I mean, Edwards had a great game last game, but to replicate that, it's going to be really hard. So this is where the team needs to really step up and help him knock down other threes.
Yeah, and UNT, they don't have many games left on this season, but I mean, their next 3, they got some tough opponents in there. But what I want to touch on from last game is they allowed 31 free throws, y'all. 31 to their 10. And free throws, those will kill you, but they got UTSA coming up, and then Tulane, and then East Carolina, which we saw that game last time was absolutely insane. What do you guys think over this course of these next 3 games? What does UNT need to work on going forward? Anthony, I'm going to start with you.
I think finding chemistry. I think it's going to have to be just the chemistry on all sides of it, from whatever Coach Hodge is saying to just doing what he tells you to do, not arguing with it, not trying to figure it out, but just playing a consistent game. If you're able to be consistent through these next 3 games, I think you guys have an opportunity to really make a big jump down the line, especially when you're in the tournament, because you can't be having these, oh, I'm hot from 3 and then I'm cold. Like, no. That's not gonna work. That's not how you're gonna be able to win games. It's being consistent every single game, no matter if a shot goes up and it goes in or if it doesn't. It's just being consistent throughout the whole entire way.
And March is right around the corner, Rohan. What does UNT need to do to beat this UTSA team and go forward and carry momentum?
I mean, I truly believe that we can get this next game against them. In the past, we have gotten the better of them, so I really like that coming into this game. But more importantly, we need more ball movement. We need to score in transition. We got to get Edwards more shots. And more importantly, we can't get out-rebounded on the offense and defensive end.
So, Rohan, back to you real quick. Do you think that the Mean Green beat UTSA this weekend?
Yes,
absolutely. All right. And Anthony, what do you think?
I think so too.
Yep.
All right, well, we'll see if they can bounce back. I really hope so. But whenever we bounce back from the break, we're going to be talking about the Dallas Stars. So make sure to stay right here with us.
I'm so tired. I feel ugly. I'm not okay. I didn't know UNT had counseling services. Maybe I should check it out. This looks like the place.
Hey Alex, this guy on the internet says he wants to give me money.
That sounds suspicious.
What do you mean?
Typically, strangers who promise you money on the internet have their own best interest in mind. They often use bounce checks, which will disappear shortly after depositing, but not before they've asked for some money in return.
So he doesn't really want to spoil me?
No.
Well, then what should I do?
The best way to handle it is to block and report the suspicious message, or even consult local law enforcement if you've already fallen victim.
So I guess we aren't going to Key West for spring break.
No.
And welcome back into SportsZone. Now we're going to talk about some Dallas Stars. They're on a little bit of a struggle bus, but to talk about the Dallas Stars with me, I have Jay Lathan and Jalen Alexander. Guys, I mentioned it. These last 3 games, a little bit rough. Jay, I'm going to start with you over there. What do you think? The last 3 games, what's been going on for these Stars?
Man, it's an offensive woe. I mean, you got Ottinger, who's a young guy. I mean, he's only still in his early mid-20s, and I mean, he's producing at a solid 90% save rate. But I mean, with multiple overtime losses, I mean, it's really just coming down to the offense not really scoring.
And Jalen, now with you, Stars. We're gonna go Stars Oilers first. You know, Oilers tough team. They got Connor McDavid on that team. What were your thoughts on that overtime loss for the Stars?
I feel like they handled Connor McDavid pretty good. I mean, it's been the longest Connor McDavid's been on the ice in around 3 games, hence the game going to overtime. But he only had 3 shots on goal, didn't have any points, but he did have an assist. So I just think it's safe to say that the team did well with him.
And Jay, what do you think? I mean, they had Connor McDavid. How do you think the Stars kind of did against him?
They did solid. They minimized him as, I mean, he only had 1 assist. He's at 13 in the last 5 games, and when you're dishing out dimes like that at that kind of rate, I mean, he obviously slowed down the offense for the Oilers.
And would you guys say this game goes down as more like a Jake Ottinger's type fault? You know, the offense couldn't get enough points. I mean, they scored 3. Or do you think the defense kind of lacking? What do you think lacked the most, Jalen?
I mean, I honestly think it was the offense. I mean, Jake Ottinger, I think he played well. He really held his own. But whenever the Oilers have forwards like Hyman and McDavid, you can't have a good team without a good goalkeeper. And that's what the Stars have, and that's why they have a good team.
That's right. And Jay, your thoughts on Mr. Ottinger himself?
In this game alone, I think he did solid. I think it was a team-wide defensive issue as they constantly were just on his end, just shooting shots at the goal. And I mean, he had 20 saves that game. And really, what it came down to was the power plays. I mean, they scored in the power play that really ended the game. And then I believe they had another goal that was also during a power play. So that right there with penalties on power plays and then just constantly having pressure on him, I think he handled it well.
Which has not been a shock to this Dallas Stars team as the games within the past, I guess you can say, 2 weeks. The penalty kill has just been brutal for this squad. They've been working on it. It got better, and now it's kind of back to worse. But a team like the Oilers, they're a pretty dang good team, and losing in overtime. Wyatt Johnston, he drew a penalty, and it was over from there. What were y'all's thoughts on that overtime? I mean, whenever the game was tied at the end, did y'all think the Stars would go to overtime and win this one or lose this one? Jay, I'm going to go back to you.
I mean, overtime is anybody's game. I mean, personally, I think that the Oilers were a better team than the Stars. But, I mean, you got to have people like Robo and Hintz really step up when they're needed most, and they really didn't, and that's what was the difference maker in this game.
Yeah, and Jalen?
I thought the Stars were going to end up pulling it out. I thought the second line was producing all game, and I'm always going to think the Stars are going to pull it out, but it just didn't happen. So.
Yeah, let's talk about the Oilers real quick. They had Evan Bouchard scored 2 goals, and one of those was that game winner. And the Stars, my highlight guy for the Stars, Mason Marchman, he's been playing really good. You also got Wyatt Johnston, several of those other guys. Jay, who did you like from that game from either side?
Evan Bouchard, I mean, he had two goals in that game, one of them being a game winner. He was just always in the right place at the right time to make a play. And, I mean, if you want to go to the Stars, I'd say Matt Duchene, he had 2 assists in that game, which really kept them alive there.
And, Jalen, what do you think? I mean, they got some young talent on this team, but couldn't manage to win. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I think the same. Like I said, the second line was producing. You got Marchman, Duchene, and Tyler Seguin. So I think they held their own. They played pretty well.
And they got all these guys that can make these plays, that can score these goals, but in some cases it's not really happening. Now we're going to switch from the Oilers game and we're going to go to the Bruins game. The Bruins always seem to have the Stars number and lost there in overtime or shootout, whatever you want to call it. Let's talk about that game really quick. Jalen, back to you. What were your thoughts on that one?
I mean, I thought Ottinger played really well again. He had 27 saves and stopped 7 of the 9 shots in the shootout. So I think that was really the high point of the game. And just an all-around well game for him.
And Jay, your thoughts on that game?
Man, overall in that game, you had 2 teams that could potentially go to the Stanley Cup. And personally, I think that it'll be a Panthers-Canucks final, but these are 2 teams that could definitely see their name appear in a deep postseason run. So it was good to see an early test before it gets down to the playoffs.
And you just mentioned a little Stanley Cup preview. Jalen, he gave his. What do you think? You think it's going to be Stars-Bruins, or will it be someone else?
I'm definitely thinking the Panthers make it. I mean, I think the Stars will make it. I'm a big fan of the Stars. I'm just thinking that the Panthers make it over the Bruins.
It's a tough battle to get through. The Panthers are good. I mean, the Bruins are good. On that side, when you come to our side, the Canucks, the Knights, even teams like the Wild and the Avalanche can stop the Stars. And they've been killing the Stars the last few years. Now let's talk about who showed up for that Bruins team. And they had some good goaltending. The Stars shot a lot of times on them. Jay, what did you think about that goaltending for the Bruins?
Man, Jeremy Swayman with 43 saves. I mean, that's absolutely massive for that team. And as well as you had 8 out of 9 blocked shots in the shootout. I mean, at a 93.5% save rate. Right there, that single-handedly, his performance alone might be one of the better goalie performances we've seen this week.
That is correct. And Jalen, what'd you think? I mean, he did, like Jay just said, he stopped a lot of shots. The Stars are firing him, but they was able to stop them, and they got that win. What do you think about the goaltending?
The goaltending was good. 43 saves was insane. But one of the things I saw was Charlie McAvoy. 2 assists, 2 points, and he scored in the 9th round of the shootout to seal the game. That was insane by him.
Now let's talk about who showed up for that Stars team. Wyatt Johnston, he had 8 shots on goal and managed to get 1 of those in. 1 out of 8 is not very good, but whenever you're shooting that many times, that's good for this offense. And Jay, I mean, like I said, 8 shots for him. Who else did you like for the Stars team on the offensive side?
I think the young man in Ottinger, I mean, 27 saves at a 90% clip. I mean, he's staying pretty consistent, which is really what we wanted to see out of this young talent. As you know, we've had Scott, and he's been kind of been a mentor for Jake, and they're kind of constantly going back and forth. And I think consistency is really what we want to see out of Jake Ottinger.
Yeah, Ottinger's been really good. 4-0-2 record since the break. 181 shots against. That's a lot. I mean, the defense doesn't always do him favors back there. Jalen, your quick thoughts on the goaltending in that one. Who you like for the Stars?
I mean, I felt the same way with Ottinger. Again, 27 saves, stopped 7 of the 9 shots. Didn't end up how we wanted it to end up, but definitely played well throughout the whole game.
And guys, what sucks is, we talk about how good Jake Ottinger was. Scott Wedgwood was even good against the Rangers. So now we're going to move on to that Rangers game. Another tough team, and the Stars lost once again, not putting up really anything offensively. What did the Stars struggle with there, Jalen?
I think it was just shooting in general. I mean, Shesterkin had a crazy game, back-to-back saves on Tyler Seguin. He had 41 out of 42 saves that game.
And Jay, what did you think on that one?
Once again, I mean, I think with the Rangers there, with just the better team, the Stars did everything they could. I have a quote here from Coach DeBoer. I mean, he even says it right here. I thought the goalie was their best player. He says our goalie was good too, but considering that back-to-back situation, we gave them everything that they could handle. And I mean, as a good team does, they just handle the attack. And I mean, the pressure was applied by the Stars, but good teams make better plays.
That's right, and I already mentioned it's 3 tough teams that the Stars just faced off against, and they lost all of them. What do the Stars need to do better going forward? Jay, back to you.
I think it's just about not giving up points easily. And you can't let other teams come back whenever you're late down in the game. They were up by 1 with 9 minutes and 16 seconds left in the game. Just can't let stuff like that happen. You just got to log back in and win the game.
And Mr. Lathan, what do you think? I mean, the Stars, they got to pick it up. How do they pick it up?
Honestly, I think they got to find the offensive rhythm first and foremost. I mean, as we've seen 2 games going to overtime here, and they've lost them both, and you have another tight game that you lose as well. So, I mean, finding the offensive rhythm, getting in, you gotta get Rupe Hintz and Robo. They got to get back in a fluidity of scoring goals at a clip that last season had fans on their feet all night. So that right there is the biggest one, and I think it's going to be the Achilles heel of this team, but they're playing good teams real hard. They have a fight, and you can't ask for more than that at this point.
Yeah, we know that it's all about getting hot at the right time, and that's just what you have to do toward the end of the season. So, I mean, they got to start picking it up. Tough games, but now let's talk about the Ottawa Senators coming up. The Stars should have what it takes to beat them, but the Stars play like they did the last 3 games. That's not going to happen. So what do you think the Stars need to focus on when they face off against Senators, Jalen?
Again, it's the offensive rhythm. I mean, they're going to be on the road once again. I think their next 2 games are on the road just like they've had their last 3. But I think it's just about offensive rhythm. The Senators aren't really that good of a team, so I think they can definitely win this game.
And real quick, give me your score prediction for Stars, Senators.
3-1, baby.
3-1 Stars?
Stars.
Okay, and Jay?
I'm going to say 4-1. I think this is just going to be the day where they're due. I mean, they've been getting shots on goals at a constant high rate, and eventually, with a team that's kind of struggling like the Senators, they'll start falling, and bada bing, bada boom, we're back winning in the West.
All right, and give me the Stars for that one. I'm going to go 5-2. Dallas Stars win that. But since we're talking about Stars, next we're going to start talking about All-Stars. With the NBA All-Star game, we're going to talk about that and that weekend. So make sure to stay with us.
There's no harm in wanting to have fun while in college, but it's easy to lose track of how much you've had. Apps like Drink Control and Alkadroit can help keep track of your consumption and blood alcohol levels. If you or someone else does drink too much, the signs of alcohol poisoning are as follows: pale skin, vomiting, confusion, low body temperatures, irregular breathing, blacking out, and is hard to wake up or cannot be woken up.
Dude, are you okay? Hey, what's wrong? Wake up.
It's an exciting time of year, but it's important to be responsible. If you suspect someone is suffering from alcohol poisoning, get help immediately. You will not get in trouble for seeking help if you are underage. For more info and resources, go to UNT's Division of Student Affairs.
Willis Library, located at the University of North Texas. It has computers, printers, and the building is open 24/7. By going online, you can book up to an hour of reserved space and one of the many private study rooms. Many of them are equipped with whiteboards, a table, and a TV to hook up to your computer. Textbooks can be checked out for free with a student ID. They also have many of these in ebook forms. This is still a library, so always remember to be quiet and respectful of other surroundings, especially in certain places where talking is not allowed. For example, the 3rd and 4th floor are completely quiet. As you can see, Willis Library has many options for students, with it offering many media sources and staying open all the time.
Welcome back into SportsZone. I'm your host, Trey Francis. Now we're going to talk about this all-star game, this crazy weekend, all these points. There was so much stuff going on. And to talk about that with me here, I have Jose Moreno and Kendall Keaton. Jose, go ahead first. Give me your thoughts on this all-star game.
Well, I
And
have
there's
to
all sorts
shout
of stuff.
out the former Maverick who left the bum team of the Mavericks, Jalen Brunson. He had himself quite a weekend, guys. I mean, he scored more points than that fraud, Luka Doncic. Luka only had 7 points and was just focused on playing volleyball instead of playing the game of basketball. So how unfortunate to see our representation just blow chunks out there in the game. While Jalen had above 10 with 12 points, he played great, and he was in the three-point contest. Lost, but he was there.
He was there, you're right. And Kendall, give me your thoughts on this all-star game.
I'm like with everyone else, really. The East beat the West, and I just feel like at this point they just play to play. There's no competition there at all, so really there's no excitement to the game.
And let's go ahead and show you those highlights from that game. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of points scored, and it got pretty crazy. But who did you guys like? I mean, there was a lot of plays made from, Giannis, Dame. It didn't matter who, Jose.
Why didn't
like?
you say Cat, the guy who had
Cat,
50
that's true.
points, man? What's your ball knowledge, Trey? Cat had 50 points out there. The guy played his heart out only to lose with the other team scoring over 200. By the way, the most points scored by any team ever in the NBA All-Star Weekend with 211 points. I've never seen that in my life. Only in 2K have I seen that. But Cat had a great game. He played his heart out in a game that no one plays their heart out. Damian Lillard brings home an All-Star MVP, which is big for the Damian Lillard fans, my friend Blake included. Shout out Blake. He still thinks Damian's a top 3 player in the league. I disagree. But Damian sure as heck sure that he showed this weekend that he's an all-star in general, not even just by the figurative sense in this game. I mean, he was great in the three-point contest as well and in the game, scoring 36 points, being a high scorer on an East team that dominated pretty well.
Yeah, him and Jaylen Brown, they both popped off for that team. And Kendall, what were your thoughts overall? I mean, there was a lot of points scored, like I said, and he mentioned it. Dame Lillard win the MVP. Who did you like for both? And Cat, I forgot about Cat, but his team lost, so I didn't really forget about him. His team just lost. What did you think?
I think both sides played really well. Of course, Jose mentioned Cat, of course, but I like Tyrese. Damian played really well. Jaylen Brown, and of course, Scotty Barnes. I felt like he played really well. Shy, of course, and then Kevin Durant. Those were the.
And let's talk about the man that Jose just put down. That is Mr. Luka Doncic himself. He scored 7 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. I mean, and he wears number 77. What else do you want to say, Jose?
He should have scored more because Jalen Brunson still beat him in this round. Again, it's the All-Star game. No one cares. A lot of players just treat it as a way to, meet up with their friends or meet up with some Instagram model they found online for the week.
Free vacation.
Free vacation
Some
as
money?
well to Indianapolis. Everyone loves the city of Indianapolis. Including you, right, Kendall? You love it? It's a great city to visit. But overall, this was a game where, like Kendall said earlier, no one cares anymore at all. It's gotten to a point where the All-Star game has just kind of become to meet up with friends, and I like that though. I mean, you shouldn't take it serious. You shouldn't tear an ACL to play a meaningless 30-minute game. And even then, people talk about how the All-Star game is bad nowadays. Clearly, they haven't seen an All-Star game from 1998. It's just as much of a blowout, if not worse, because they're playing slower basketball.
Yeah, and you're right. Players, they don't want to get injured. They want the free vacation. They want the money. They want to see their friends and the fame and all that. But, like I said, they don't want to get hurt. It's a long season. They're halfway. I mean, Kendall, what did you think about that? I mean, there's some players out there that probably should have tried a little harder.
Yeah, I do agree, but like you said and Jose said, no one wants to get hurt. It's about like the midpoint of the season. No one wants to get hurt during a game that no one really cared about. Really,
and Kendall, did this game go how you expected to, or did you think it'd be more low scoring, or did you think it'd be this high scoring venture that we had?
No, it went as expected. I'm pretty sure it would be as high scoring, but no one really took it seriously. There's really no competition, no defense there. So.
And Jose, what did you think? Did it go how you expected?
Yeah, it went how expected. But you know who did actually put their heart into their performance and open up a can of whoop? But, none other than Mac McClung. Just like me, he opened up a can of whoop, but whoop butt on everyone in the slam dunk contest. Did you see that, Trey?
All
Did
right.
you see that man go crazy?
He did, and he won it again. I mean, he jumped over Shaq. I mean, that was absurd.
And Jalen Brown jumped over Kai Cenat. That was all you could do.
It was getting crazy out there, and we can show you that real quick. I mean, Mac McClung, he really got it done. I mean, whenever I saw what he was going to do, I was like, oh my goodness, there's no way that he is going to do this. And Kendall, what were your thoughts there on Mac McClung winning this dunk contest?
He deserved it. He was honestly the best one there, in my opinion. I'm not sure what Jalen Brown was doing. He was doing a whole lot of nothing, in my opinion. They need just better dunkers during the dunk contest. But Mac was great. I loved his performance.
And Jose, you talked about Mac, but what did you think about some of the other guys? I mean, Jimmy.
Jaime Jaquez, he played, which is big for Mexicans everywhere like myself, to see someone like him. Look at that dunk. Wow, what a guy, huh? I mean, I couldn't do that. I'd tear an ACL. Who's that player? I can't read from out here. Overall, Jalen Brown disappointed. He was awful. It was a talk of the town. How the heck did he get to the final? Well, you know, it's time for people to learn that in the NBA, it's not about talent. It's about the name value you bring when it comes to events like this. Of course, they were going to have Jalen Brown in the final instead of an actual guy who had a better dunk. I mean, look at his mid-dunk. Look at that. I could see this in the middle of a game. You know, that's not. Look, even he's like, what the heck?
But I don't
That's
think
my boy.
I don't think we could do that even if we tried and practiced for a long time. I just don't think something like that would happen. And now we're going to talk about the celebrity game. The celebrities getting out there. Good old Micah Parsons from the Dallas Cowboys. Don't you think his coaches were worried about him playing out there, Kendall?
Yeah, it was, but like it's the off season right now, so I mean.
But he go out there and tear an ACL, and he's out for the whole season.
That is true, but I feel like, you know, they had fun. He did, C.J. Stroud, everyone else, you know, they played.
And what did you think about Mr. Parsons?
Parsons was a ball hog. I mean, poor Kai Cenat. Can we all ask, why did Kai not get the ball more? He had an embarrassing performance out there, and not of his own fault. 4 minutes, 4 points, nothing else. He ran 9 miles around because he kept begging for the ball. But Micah Parsons, because he thinks, oh, I'm a D1 lineman. Oh, I'm big and crazy. Everyone forgot about my allegations a couple years back, so I can play all-star basketball like I'm a jerk. Well, I'm tired of him. I'm tired of that. Poor Kai should have gotten the ball more.
All right, now we have a Luka Doncic hater, and now we have a Micah Parsons hater. I mean, Micah, he played well, winning the MVP there, him and Puka Nacua, you know, getting it done for that squad. But now we're going to go ahead and move on to the Rising Stars Challenge. You know, Derek Lively was out there, a couple other guys. It was a good little game. What did you think about that game, Kendall?
I liked it. It was really. Sorry, the G League. Let me go to talk about the G League.
Yeah.
The team, they played really well. I feel like a lot of them do have NBA potential, so it's just like one opportunity situation there. So it did open a lot of light to a lot of those players that we don't see get to play more often. So I liked it.
Yeah, no, that's interesting that you touched on the G League. And Jose, what do you think? It's cool to see these young guys get out there and compete, play a little ball, and they're like the same age as us, if not younger.
It's so surreal to see that we're getting to that age where like the people that are young and like considered rookies are like they're like 4 years younger than you are. It was awesome seeing again Jaime Jaquez out there. Again, a lot of people don't see this, but you know you don't see a Mexican play in the league, and to see him also in the Rising Star Challenge, also played pretty well. Although his team was one of the first teams eliminated. Derek Lively, I will stop my Dallas hate wagon right now. He played pretty good out there. It was great to see him, and overall pretty fun for the rookies to get out there. And it's a way better. Remember how it used to be? It was just the internationals versus the Americans. That was way worse. I like how this new format is.
Yeah, and let's mention the Maverick Derek Lively really quick. I mean, 12 points between his 2 games. Kind of got out there. He's got to wear his mask now, and it's kind of. I feel bad for the guy, but what were your thoughts on Derek Lively? I mean, he's 20 years old, 19, whatever he is.
He, in my opinion, he played really well that game. He is a rim protector, and he's a lob finishing machine, in my opinion. So the Mavericks are really lucky to have him on their squad.
And now let's go ahead and go to that let's quickly go to that skills challenge that we saw between the All-Stars, the Pacers, and the young guys. What did y'all think about that? Did y'all like that? You kind of thought it was kind of dumb? What did you think, Jose? Real quick.
I think it was a little bit too convoluted. The skills challenge, you know, when I used to watch the skills, because no one even watches the skills challenge. But until like a couple of years back, it wasn't even recorded. Yeah, it was all right. I didn't really think much of it. I just didn't like the format this year.
And Kendall, your thoughts on that skills challenge?
I enjoyed it. It was actually one of the challenges I actually enjoyed watching, though some of them should have played a little bit more seriously because it didn't really look like they were taking it seriously.
Yeah, now let's go to Steph versus Sabrina. They were going off in the three-point contest, competing against each other, and Steph comes out on top. Did y'all think that Steph would beat her? You thought she'd win? I mean, we got the video for it. Let's show it real quick. And Jose, what were your thoughts on that?
I did not think that Steph Curry, the greatest three-point shooter of all time, would be. Of course, I thought Steph was gonna win. You'd have to be blunt. Sabrina's great though. If anything, this probably taught a lot of idiot men out there that a lot of WNBA players are just as skilled as the guys out there and are just as good. Good to see that out there. Awesome. Good on Sabrina to get this highlight, the spotlight, and good on Steph for winning,
And Kendall, your thoughts on that really quickly.
I loved it as well. Steph, of course, I knew he was going to win, but it was really nice to see Sabrina go out there and shoot from NBA range and show like a lot of girls that it is possible to do that.
The question is, can we see Steph versus Caitlin Clark? That's what I want to see. What do you think, Jose? Would Steph still win that one by landslide, or what do you think?
Steph would win 30-0 on that one. I think Caitlin would.
Totally
I'm
disagree
kidding.
with that.
Caitlin would win. Not Caitlin would win. Caitlin would catch up, but it's Steph Curry. Steph Curry, he can shoot threes in his sleep.
Yeah, that is right. And Kendall?
That is true. I would want to see it, but I would love to see a rematch between him and Sabrina for next year because they were really great on stage together. So.
Yeah, well, we will see what it takes. I mean, we saw what they did this weekend, and hopefully, they get better players out there next year. We'll see what they come up with for next year. But that will do it for us here on SportsZone. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Make sure to follow us on our social media. It's NTTV_sports. And stick around for the nightly news because they'll be on in just a minute. Have a good night, everybody.